early and I'm sick. I probably shouldn't even be doing a video, but whatever. I want to get this stuff done. So my voice changes sometimes. I have a cough drop. There's a Murphy here like floating through the air. I'm sucking on a cough drop in an attempt to not cough. I'm actually finally not coughing constantly. I think I'm on like my 4th different medicine today. So that's fun. I don't know. So, and I'm gonna film a couple videos right now. Probably, you wanna say hi? We'll see how it goes. So I'm gonna start by doing my December wrap up, which I read, I think it was 15 books. Hold on, let me get my, yes, I read 15 books, which includes 2 DNFs, 2 5-star reads, 8 4-star reads, 2 3-star reads, and 1 or 2-star read. I think I said that right. I'm also not 100% there in my head right now. I did take notes though, so hopefully that helps. I read 2 nonfiction books. These were both audiobooks from my library. The first is Extreme Ownership by Leif Babin and Jocko Willink. I think Jocko is like relatively famous. I've heard interviews with him. Like I think he's been on the Joe Rogan show and stuff. I had heard of him and then somebody came to my work and recommended this book, and I don't think I can see how it would apply to not necessarily my job specifically, but to other people in my office. I gave it 4 stars. I liked the message. They read the books themselves. It like alternates, and they run a company where they do like consulting for leaders to help them become better leaders. And they use a lot of the things that they learned in the military. They were Navy SEALs, and how that can and what it means to be a leader and stuff. And then I read Murphy, An Elegant Defense by Matt Richtel. I think he's a journalist by like trade. And this book is I gave it 4 stars. Is it's about the immune system and like research about the immune system, and he focuses his like story by looking at 4 different people's lives with different things. So like I don't remember everything. One has like, I don't remember what kind of cancer he has, but he has like a blood cancer. One has HIV. I don't know if he ever gets AIDS. Definitely has HIV. And then those are 2 guys, and then there's 2 girls, and one of the guys was like a friend of his growing up, and then 2 women. One has like rheumatoid arthritis, and I don't remember what the other one is. Overall, I found it interesting, but sometimes I would get confused or bored. And then I read a bunch of romances, obviously. So I listened to Halfway to the Grave by Janine Frost. This is the first book in her Night Huntress series. This was a reread for me, and I honestly, like, I remembered nothing about this. I feel like I don't even know if I ever reread the first book. I gave it 4 stars. I got the audiobook from the library. So I think I haven't read this since I was in like college. And I am gonna do like a reread of the whole series on audio, although I was not the biggest fan of the narrator. I don't know. I think it's just personal choice. I really didn't like her voice for Bones. It just didn't work for me, but it's fine. And it was really interesting because Kat, the main character, and it's a first person narrated story. She's so young. Like, she is young. Like, she's literally young in the story, which I think I forgot. She's like 21 or 22, maybe just turned 22. And she's also like, I mean, she like hunts and kills vampires, but so this story, if you don't know, it's paranormal romance. The series is 8 books long, I think, maybe 7, I can't remember. And it follows Kat who is half human, half vampire. Her mother was raped by a vampire and got pregnant. That's explained in the story how she got pregnant. And so she is raised to like hate vampires, and so she hunts them down and kills them, and then she runs into this vampire named Bones, and they end up teaming up to go after like really bad vampires. And then Bones kind of opens her eyes up to maybe not all vampires are bad, and then there's like a romance, and it's this long story. It's this huge arc. It's very popular in like the paranormal romance world, I feel like. But yeah, she was so young and like naive, even though she's like out killing these vampires. She is very naive. It's also older. This book's from like 2007, and you can like tell it's from 2007. I still liked the characters. I'm excited to see where it, like, I remember certain things. Like I remember a few specific plot points, but I don't remember everything. So I'm very excited for the reread. Then I read a little novella by Elle Kennedy. It was, she released 2 stories in 2 different like holiday collections for free this year, and I can't remember what the name of this one was, but I'll put the cover up here for you to read it. And I will eventually, I think, read the other stories in here from the other authors, but I only read The Pact by her. And this follows Grace and Logan, who are the couple from The Mistake, which is the second book in the Off-Campus series. They're my favorite couple. Their story is also the reason I first picked up an Elle Kennedy book. I heard about their story on Smart Bitches and the podcast, and it sounded really interesting, so I checked it out and I really liked it. I gave it 5 stars. This novella has caused me to think about some things when it comes to ratings, and so I'm gonna do a video in January talking about that. But I gave this 5 stars, and because this story is really, it was free, it's really like a little Christmas present novella, I feel like, to fans. And so that's exactly what it is. Like, it's sweet, it's cute, it's awesome. Grace and Logan are struggling with being in a couple, and I think that's really cute. The whole pact storyline, they get stuck in a snowstorm and start talking about like eating, like, would you eat, like, they argue about like if they'll make a pact to like eat each other's bodies if like they die. And it sounds kind of morbid, but it's really funny, and I can see myself having that conversation in that situation. So I think it was exactly what I wanted, and to spend time with these characters that I love. And I really already wanted to reread this series, and now I want to do it even more. I actually bought all of the audiobooks during a Black Friday sale on Audible, so I'm excited. And then I read If You Give a Girl, oh, I think I forgot a book. I don't even care, I'm not gonna go find it. If You Give a Girl a Viscount by Karen Kramer. This was in my winter TBR. My TBRs are gonna change next year, but I'll talk about that in January. I ended up giving this 3 stars, 4 stars. And I believe I had started reading this when it first came out. I'd read the other 2 books, in the first 2 books in the series. Maybe, I think this is book 4, so I probably read the 3rd one too, but I don't own it. Is a historical romance, and this one follows this woman named Daisy, and she's like a stepmother and 2 stepsisters, so it's kind of a Cinderella retelling, which is not my favorite, but it's fine. I actually enjoyed it. And she finds a letter from her godmother, and so she reaches out to her godmother asking her for help, and her godmother is out of the country, but her, I think it's her grandson comes to her aid. But because of things going on in his life, he makes a deal. He's like cut off from his family's money and makes a deal with his friends that he won't spend any money or take money from anybody, and like all she really needs to fix her problems is money. So they end up working together to try and solve some problems she has. I really liked the chemistry between these two characters. I thought their romance was really well paced. Like, it wasn't too fast, and they kind of built a friendship. Like, it's not like a friendship and like, I don't know how to explain this, but this is what I like, where like people talk and like build some sort of relationship before it like really progresses into a romance. The Cinderella elements felt kind of forced, like they had to be there, and were probably my least favorite parts of the story, and some things felt a little off, but overall I enjoyed it. I'm glad I gave it another chance. I thought I wasn't gonna like it at all, so that was great. No, this was an arc. I totally forgot this was an arc. Oh my gosh. I'm like, where did I see this? It was an arc. It's called At All Costs by Katarina Winters. I've never read a book by her before. I ended up giving it 3 stars. I was a little all over the place with this. It's kind of a novella. It's shorter. It's contemporary romance. It's definitely serious in tone. It came out in December. It follows this woman named Alessia. They never say her age, so I don't know how old she's supposed to be, like maybe young 20s, but she lives at home with her mom and her mom's boyfriend, and her mom's boyfriend is abusive, and so she runs away. But like every time she tries to run away, he literally like finds her and like brings her home, which is why the age thing was weird. Like, I don't know, it sounded like authorities made her go home, and if that was the case, then if she was over 18, I don't understand how that was possible. But I mean, I'm sure there's things that happen, and you know, people get away with stuff, but and she ends up meeting up with this gentleman named Jax, who is off the grid, and he lives in the woods in Oregon. This actually, it's a novella, but the romance was actually fairly well paced. Like, they don't just immediately like fall in love with each other or even have like an attraction. He kind of, he doesn't know what happened to her, but he doesn't want her just like, she's planning on basically just living in the woods in a tent, and he's like, that's stupid. He's like, fine, you can live with me, but you have to like work around my house. And like, he never pressures her or anything, and they just like, they watch TV, and they kind of build a relationship that way, and then it progresses. Although once it switched to a romantic relationship, I feel like there was a lot less conversation, and I would have preferred there continue to be conversation, but it's fine. There is some suspense elements to it. Nothing overwhelming for me because I'm not a huge fan of suspense, but you know, she's always worried that her mom's boyfriend's gonna find her, so that's what you have. There's a really cute cat in it, which is really fun. I did think that the characters were kind of underdeveloped. I think that's just the nature of a novella. A lot of times something has to be sacrificed in the name of length. And then something happened at the end of the story that really bothered me. I have a written review, and I specifically say spoilers, so if you've read this or whatever, I mean, I don't think it's like really a triggering thing, so you don't have to like check it for that, but if you're curious what really bothered me, you can read it there. But I've read some reviews, and people seem to think that it was okay, or that it was a sweet thing that was done. I do not think so. I think it was really messed up. So, because it probably would have been a 4-star read otherwise, and the more I sit with it, sometimes I'm like, should I give it 2 stars? But I can't quite go there, so it gets 3. Speaking of 2 stars though, then I listened to The Christmas Pact by, I think it's Vi Keeland, it might be V Keeland, I don't know, and Penelope Ward, who are authors I've heard so much about, and people love them, and the narrators to this book are super popular too. The narrators were fine. This was an Audible original, and I got it for free with my Audible subscription. I gave it 2 stars, like I said. Honestly, like, I don't even want to talk about why I hated this book. I'm just like over being upset about it. Like, I wrote a review. If you want, you can check it out. I just don't have like the emotional energy to explain my frustrations. A lot of other people really liked it though, so if you're interested, I'm sure you'll like it. And I'm just like the weirdo that it was just like a lot of little things that added up into me just like being done with this story. And then I read another e-arc, and I'm confused what this book is called, because my arc says Forever My Duke, and even on Goodreads it says Forever My Duke, but the cover on Goodreads now says Forever and a Duke, so I don't know. It's by Olivia Drake. It's the second book in a series called Unlikely Duchesses. It's historical romance. I gave it 3 stars. I've never read a book by this author before. I thought it was good, average. It was fairly well paced, but it was really forgettable. Like, honestly, like, I don't even like remember what happened. I think it's an American, and she brings her friend's son, who's an orphan, back to England to her friend's family, and then meets this duke and stuff. I think that's what it was. I would read another book by this author, but probably from like the library or something, just in case. I wouldn't say like avoid this story, but it wasn't like yay. And then I DNF'd a book, and this book was from my winter or fall TBR as well, and that was Playing It Cool by Emily Robertson. I think this is like a prequel novella to a series she has. It's like new adult. Honestly, like, it wasn't awful. It just wasn't great or good, and I just don't have the energy for books like this anymore in my life. It felt like really early new adult, very dialogue heavy, and guys that think they're the shit but they're not. Whoa. And he said he was like trying to get her to do stuff, and he's like, oh, I'm sure you don't have fun with anything, and she's like, oh, I have fun, and he's like, reading isn't fun. Yeah, I don't care how much you changed. That's a crap thing to say. I don't know, maybe the whole series is good, I don't know. But I DNF'd it. And then I read another e-arc, and that was The One For You by Ronnie Lauren, which is the 4th and final book in the Ones Who Got Away series by her. I ended up giving this 4 stars. This one follows Kincaid, who is like the last in the friend group in this series. I've talked about this series a lot over the last couple weeks. I'm not going to go into super detail about the series as a whole. This one was a lot lighter, but it's not light. Like, it's still serious. I just only cried like once instead of like all the time. It's contemporary romance. It's second chance. It's friends to lovers. There's like a library or a bookstore that features in it, which was cute. I just really like the friendships in here. I thought Kincaid was great. The romance was great. Ronnie Lauren is great. And I just want to reread this series. Are you going to jump down? Don't knock over the camera. And then I read Extra Credit by Serena Bowen. This is a bind up of 3 novellas. I had read one before. So it's Blonde Date, which has been out for a while. I had never read that one. I gave them all 4 stars. I give this 4 stars. Studley Period, which was a serial, like a weekly serial she did last year in email. So I had read that when it was a serial. And then Yesterday, which follows Graham and Riker from The Understatement of the Year. So this takes place during the Ivy years at various times. Yesterday is probably the saddest story. Like, it's the hardest to read. It deals with some like difficult topics because Riker, like his mom especially, still like cannot comprehend that he's gay and that there's nothing wrong with that. So it deals with that. But the other 2, even when like Blonde Date deals with kind of like consent issues, but it's not, I don't think it was like a hard read emotionally. It didn't make me angry or anything like The Shameless Hour does. And not angry at Serena Bowen, by the way, just like angry at the world. But I really enjoyed it, and this is actually the last book I read, and I think it was a good way to end the year. And then my like other books, So I shall talk about my DNF first because I don't want to end with that one. I DNF'd Confessions of an Ugly Stepsister at like 20%. I was like 120 pages in, by Gregory Maguire. Honestly, I just think that his writing isn't for me. I've read Wicked. Wicked wasn't awful, but it wasn't my favorite. It's really weird. It deals with some weird stuff, and this had some weird stuff in it. I was also just like really easily distracted, and I didn't really connect with the characters, but at the same time I was kind of saddened by some of the things that were happening to the characters. Like saddened in like a, it started to impact me outside of the book, but I also have been going through like my own tough time right now, so I don't know if that's what it is. I still like the movie. It was a made-for-TV movie, and I'm sure there are differences, and I think I'm just gonna keep the movie in my head and be happy with that. And then I finished, I had mostly read this back in November, but I finished it in December, and that is Serpent and Dove by Shelby Mahurin. I ended up giving this 4 stars. It's book 1. I think this is going to be a duology. I hope so, because I'm over long series. It's fantasy. A lot of people have been saying it's like new adult, which I guess it is. There's like a sex scene, but I don't think it's anything crazy. I know this book has gotten mixed reviews. I really liked it. I think a lot of people said it was slow. I didn't think it was slow. I liked the characters, the plot, the pacing, the relationships. Like, I really enjoyed it. I was really hooked in it. I do like Reed. It's told in alternating POVs between these two characters, Reed and Lou. I like Reed more than Lou. I think Lou sometimes is a little harsh to read, but it's fine. And there's a character named Ansel, and he is like my favorite. I think I'm like turning into like an old lady that just like instead of being like attracted to people in books. I don't know if it's because I'm getting older, so it's like weird to be like attracted to like 18-year-olds or something, but now I just want to like adopt and like take care of characters. And so Ansel was like my favorite. There is a girl named Coco. I really like her as well. I actually like low-key want Coco to become like a POV character in the next book. I'm sure it won't happen, but that would be awesome. I'm personally excited to see where this goes. I'm very pumped to read the next book. I think it comes out in September or October of 2020. And then I read another arc, and that was Regretting You by Colleen Hoover. I cannot believe I got approved for this arc. Like, I'm like nobody. So, whatever. I gave this 4 stars. It is very different from other Colleen Hoover. Like, there are romance elements, but at its core, I think this story is about a relationship between a mother and a daughter. So, like, I don't know how to classify it or talk about it. Like, if it should be recommended to people, like, how to recommend it. It was super emotional. Like, I kept having to, like, put it down. It was just a lot to deal with. It deals with a lot. So much of this book you just have to like read and go through. So I don't want to talk too much about like what happens, but it was very raw. It was very emotional. It was very beautiful. I don't know if I could ever read it again, but it was very good. And then the last book I read was a reread, and that was Changeless by Gail Carriger. Got this from the library as an audiobook, and I listened to it. This is the second book in the Parasol Protectorate series. I gave this 5 stars just like I did the first time. I was actually looking at my review from the first time, and I have a lot of the same opinions. Like, the beginning, it was a little hard to get into, but it ends up just being amazing. It was like even better this time around because here you start to meet people and see connections to like the Finishing School series. So that was kind of cool. There was one thing that like made me really sad because of knowledge I have from the Finishing School series and the ending. Even though I know how the whole series goes, and this ending is still like a heartbreaker, and I now have to wait like at least 5 weeks for the next one to be available. Obviously I own, well, maybe not obviously, you can't see myself, I own it physically. I could read the next book, but I really do want to just listen to them on audio. Those are the books that I read in December, and I'm sorry for my voice throughout this whole video. And if you watched it, thank you so much. And I'm sorry that my voice is probably going to be like this in the next video because I'm going to film it right now. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that your 2019 ended really well and that your 2020 is starting out great and that it will only be good for you. I wish you great books and good reading, and I will see you next time. Bye!